Welcome to Tell the Story, a Jazz Journeys production. I'm Earl Brown. It's been said that we all have a story to tell. It might be fresh in our minds, it might be left in writings on stone or lost with traces in sand, or it might be staring right at us in mirrors as we try to find ourselves. Yes, we all have a story to tell that's worth listening to. So go ahead and tell the story. So here we are with another episode of Tell the Story, and we have visiting with us retired police officer Alonzo Parker, and he's here to talk about a police officer's human nature. Brother Parker, welcome to Tell the Story.
Good afternoon, Mr. Earl, and first let me say thank you for inviting me down to talk about something that's dear to my heart, and I would like to say that I appreciate this opportunity to get that point across that we are human.
What do you mean when you say we are human? And I want people to understand that.
In my 34 years of police experience, I've come to find out that a lot of people fail to see the human side of police officers. They concentrate on the uniform and think that all we do is enforce the policies and procedures of the city of Philadelphia, which we do, but in some cases, we are also human to the point where a lot of people look at us as a negative as opposed to looking at us as a positive and trying to help. And that's one of the things that I wanted to clear up.
Now, why should people look at you guys as from a positive perspective, and that, yes, you are human as opposed to from the negative side? What's the advantages? What's the benefit? Or as we would say, what's in it for me?
What's in it for you is if you look at us as human, then the outcome of a situation may not have to escalate into being physical or having a verbal altercation. It can just be a meaningful conversation between two individuals. And it sees as people who are not out to hurt you, but we're willing to help you as well.
So when I look on television and I read in the news that a gang of roughneck police officers really put a hurting on somebody, what makes me think that, well, you're not going to be that way? Or there's a lot of you guys that are really not that way, because according to what I see on television, it seems like everything's bad.
Television does not portray all officers. Television, things that you see on TV are scripted mostly. But for us police officers, we want to, how can I say, kind of steer away from all the things that you see on TV, hear on the news, and things of that nature. When you come across a police officer, some of us, like I said, they don't see us as brothers. They don't see us as fathers. They don't see us as husbands. They just see us as someone who's out to get them for whatever the reason may be. And that's not necessarily true.
Okay. Understood. Let's go back to when you consider all of this that we see in television and all the negative aspects of what television, and not all television, but television from time to time, how it portrays police officers. What made you decide, and when did you decide, you know what, I want to be a police officer?
Well, for me, becoming a police officer was far from my thoughts. I just came out of working for a private electrician. I was doing electrician work for 4 years. And if I wanted to continue that path, then I had to go to electrical school for another 4 years. And I didn't per se have the money at that particular point in time to start that career. And I heard that the police department was hiring. They needed minorities to patrol certain areas to keep in touch with the Black community. So I applied for the police department, and that started my whole journey.
Now, you know, when you say the police department, was looking for minorities. It reminds me of a movie I saw. It was called Heat Wave. And this was about the LA riots. And this, not the Rodney King riots, the LA riots that went way back before then. This was the Watts riots. And it was really interesting because the LA Times, when the riots broke out, the LA Times needed to cover the story, but all the writers and all the reporters for the LA Times were white. And there was a brother that worked there, but he was like a page. And he said, hey, I could cover that story. And I thought it was really interesting. They told him, they said, you're not qualified. And he said, all due respect.
Wow.
He said, that's my neighborhood. He says, I'm more qualified than any of you guys. You guys are the ones that are not qualified. So anyway, they told him, okay, you got a point. So they told him, go in and whatever you see, just write it down and just call it into us. And he would say, he'd see a story. He'd say, I'm standing here at the corner of whatever. And I see everything burning. But wait a minute. He said, there's Baker's shoe store. That's the shoe store where my uncle, my father, my grandfather, and all the men of the neighborhood would come and get their shoes done. He said, and they would tell stories. And he said that, and as I look at the shoe store go up in flames, he said, I feel like a part of me is going up in flames. And when the LA Times got the story, they were like, the kid wrote that? Yeah, the kid wrote it. So I'm saying all that to say that you guys and the police department realized it at a certain point that you had an insight that they didn't have. So tell me about that insight of what you were able to, when you got hired, what you were able to bring to the department and to the community.
For me, it was because we are Black men, and working in the neighborhood where it's predominantly Black people, it kind of shifted in a way where we can relate to most of the things that people were going through. And in order for us to kind of make a change in the way that people perceive police officers, we have to show them like us as Black men or Black women sympathize with what you're going through, but there's still a level of expertise that I have to bring in order to de-escalate a situation or try to resolve a situation that some of your white counterpartners may not be able to extend.
Now, I know that you and a lot of your fellow African-American officers, you brought a certain, I got this, I feel you, I understand what you're going through. But what additional training that you had to go through to become a police officer, adding to what you already brought to the table?
Well, the training, basically, we had 6 months to learn the policies and procedures of the Philadelphia Police Department, as well as the physical training, running, shooting, self-defense, and things of that nature. But all of those things really are just tools that we use when you patrol in the city of Philadelphia. When you're dealing with people, first of all, you never know what people are going through at that particular point in time. You don't know what you may be going through at that particular point in time. So if a situation happens, me as a police officer have to put all my personal feelings aside and stick to whatever the situation may be or what caused me to try to de-escalate a situation.
What would you say was probably the worst situation that you ever encountered over your 34 years as a police officer? And how did you handle it?
You've been listening to Tell the Story, but stay tuned because there's so much more to come. That's coming up next.